Hello, everybody. Welcome to Just One Perspective. My name is Josh. Thank you so much for joining us today. The reason I'm wearing sunglasses today is because I want to look at least half as cool as my older brother Eric, who has joined me for another video. Noise ordinance, it's already starting. I need you to be on top of that from here on out. Call out noise ordinance.
Noise ordinance. Did I do good?
When it's time, yes. So, Eric wanted to join me. I'm going to take these off now because I made my point. I can't look nearly as cool as he does, especially when he's smoking a pipe, as long as that, looking like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. So, well, thanks so much for joining. Again, it's been over a year. It was last September that you joined, and now it's October, when the sun is hanging low in the sky. I have everything to say.
Oh, noise ordinance.
Thank you. Yes. All right. Doing good so far. That sounded interesting. So he has brought his pipes and his tobacco. What kind of tobacco are we working on today?
We are working on Bella Vanilla.
Bella Vanilla. Isn't that cute? Pure Madagascar vanilla. Okay.
Yeah.
Made in Denmark. Well, it's like stuff here, you know.
Yeah.
It's you get something called American cheese and it's made in China, right? So I think I'm doing better at this than last time. No.
You stick your thumb over while you're breathing.
Oh, just right here now. Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, it's a little warm.
It's trying to kill me. It's a little warm. It's like searing my thumbprint off. Yeah, I'm no good at this, but I'm enjoying it. So today we have a couple things to talk about, but one thing I wanted to do was last time he and I were smoking, not on here, I introduced whiskey to him at the same time. Not whiskey, he's had whiskey before, but introduced having whiskey at the same time as you're smoking. And so we're going to enjoy some of that today. I've got a Glen Grant 12-year single malt Scotch whiskey, and it's... Hold on, let me get rid of that. That was really just sort of kitschy.
Highly professional.
Yeah, it's super professional. What did I say about being professional? Now, watch this. You know what I'm going to do on camera now?
I'm going to be unprofessional. Stick it on me.
No, I was going to litter. No, I'll put it there. I'll get it later. So, a couple things I want to point out. I'm going to teach him how to drink whiskey like a real man, or to get the fullest enjoyment out of it. Let me put it that way. Let me rephrase. So we have these kind of glasses here. These are supposedly better for whiskey. For some reason, it helps keep some of the odors or something in here. I'm not a complete expert, but I know that these are typically the kind of glasses that you want to drink whiskey in, these tumbler sort of glasses. So we've also got whiskey stones in here, which will help keep it cool. They are in the freezer, and they don't dilute it because they won't melt because they're not ice. Don't ask me what they're made of, because I don't know. So when you're drinking wine, there's a very specific way to do it. You want to do like the 3 or 4 S's. It's like see, smell, swirl, sip. And you can kind of do the same thing with whiskey. But what you really want to do is really get the aroma, the scent, the odors that come out of it. Because especially stuff like this, maybe I won't tell you what's in it. Maybe you can try to guess. But you kind of breathe through your nose and your mouth, because then you'll start getting the taste with your tongue as well as you're breathing it in. And then as you go to sip it, you're still sort of breathing it in like that. Obviously, you don't want to inhale it, but you've got, like, you're opening up everything in here so that you're getting all of the smell and everything through your mouth and nose.
It smells wonderful.
And then you sip it once you kind of got it all in there. Yeah, it's smooth.
That's really good.
Yeah, you like that?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is in it? What does it taste like?
I wouldn't know.
I'm not good at it either. When people are like, what do you taste in this whiskey? I'm like, it tastes like great whiskey. but that's about it. It says that it is a sublime single malt with a bright golden color, Aromas of orchard fruits and vanilla. The palate reveals mouth-watering layers of apple pie, toffee, caramel, and almonds.
It tastes really good with the vanilla.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me see if I can enjoy it the same way you are. Did you inhale? Remember, folks, you're not supposed to inhale. At least it's coming out.
Just needs more air. Let's give a little more air.
What do you mean more air?
That right. Just breathe in a little more aggressively, and let it out.
But then I have to use my lungs. See, you can drink whiskey like you're using a hammer. This is more surgical, which is probably why I'm not nearly as good at it. You're like, no, be calm, take gentle puffs, do these things that are more graceful, and I'm like, it's not working. Okay, so more air. See, there's my lungs. I found them.
Well, you used to smoke cigarettes a little bit too, didn't you? I think that's what.
I mean, on occasion in college, like if I had been drinking and somebody offered a cigarette, I might take one then, but it was still pretty rare. Jarvis is part of the show. All right, well, we're not just going to sit here in front of the camera and drink and smoke, although that could be really fun too.
Yeah, you could join us and.
Yeah, if you just want to put this video on and enjoy a smoke and a drink of your own, we can just sit here and enjoy the sunshine.
Well, that's what we talked about last time, right? The enjoyment.
It's kind of slowing it down, and yeah. Did you know that is still one of my, I want to say most popular videos, but it's one of the videos that has the most hits, and I think it's because people are looking for how to smoke a pipe, and so
right.
I hope they found what they needed from that, not from me.
Yeah, or me.
No,
because there's some people out there that can teach you some great stuff. And, the best one that I saw was going to like a what do they call them when they have cigars? A smoke room, not a smoke room.
Yeah, isn't it something like that?
I think so. That's where I learned how to, because I started with cigars.
Oh, okay.
And I still like cigars.
Can you hold on one second? Jarvis, that's enough. Enough. Noise ordinance. I guess I can't be throwing stones when my dog won't shut up.
I'm out of the frame.
That's okay. So you started in smoke rooms like in the back?
Just once.
Yeah.
Just once.
Okay.
My wife, she said that I should try it. And that's kind of rare for, a woman telling her man to go smoke. But
why do you suppose she wanted you to go try it?
Well, we were watching a Louder with Crowder, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about cigars and how this brings out some type of masculinity or camaraderie between men,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
shared experience kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And then of course the 2020 hit and everybody decided that it was not a good idea to see each other for some odd reason, but I try to find other people that I can smoke with. And it's different than cigarettes, of course.
Yeah.
Because cigarettes are just get a quick hit and then you're done. It's not being together. This is about being together.
Yeah, there's more effort in this. This is more of a hobby, like we've talked about, because you have to go through very specific things to get it ready, and then also to be successful in enjoying it.
Well, you have to tend to it. I mean, like mine went out because I wasn't tending to it.
You were too busy flapping your yap.
Yeah, exactly. And a cigar, I tried to smoke a cigar after I smoked a pipe, and it actually was too much. And it got me ill because a cigar you don't need to tend to as much.
Right.
But a pipe you do.
And even still, cigars seem more into that hobby sort of aspect than cigarettes, because there's still more to it, and there's more taste, more flavor, more culture maybe.
I went
associated with
to
it.
a hobby store that I go to, and a guy had a cigar, and we just shared one of his cigars, and it was just we didn't even know each other. It was just a nice 20 minutes, just chilling and talking.
Just kind of get to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I spent in one of my videos, I was up in Estes Park, up in the mountains, and enjoying a week there, and I had both the dogs with me, and they were tired after a long hike, and I wanted to go into downtown, the main strip, and I could walk there, so I left them back at the cabin so that they could just nap and relax. And I went to start my foray into downtown. I went into a bar, and I ordered a nice whiskey, and I sat and chatted with the bartender. It was like the most cliche thing I've ever done, just sitting there having a drink and just chatting with the bartender. But it gave me an opportunity just to get to know one of the locals and get to chat with him and ask him, hey, how are things here? And what rumors have you heard? See if there were any cool side quests that I could do in Estes Park while I was up there. It's probably the nerdiest thing I've ever said on this.
Yeah, it probably is. Yes, we do love gaming.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I had a question for you that I wanted to ask for here for my other channel. Sometimes Tori joins me in playing some classic video games that we grew up with.
Great.
I wanted to get your take. Is there anything that you think I should expose her to, introduce her to? Any specific games?
Okay, you've done Mega Man.
Yeah.
And you've done Super Mario World.
Mm-hmm.
Excite Bike would be kind of fun. Bomberman.
I've never played that.
Oh, you never did?
Mm-mm.
I did play a little older when I was older, and it's very exciting when you have multiple players trying to compete against each other with all those bombs and everything. It's kind of gets exciting.
Yeah.
Mario Kart? Did you do Mario Kart 64?
Uh-huh. Well, we haven't. She and I haven't. How to do Super Mario 64.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I think Mario Kart would be kind of fun.
Do you think... Sorry. Were all those... Any other suggestions? Because I was going to ask you another question. And this isn't
Sure.
the topic that we wanted to talk about today,
No.
but I think I want to get your take on this. I have been disparaging of video games multiple times on this channel. Not because I don't think that you should play video games, but I think that you shouldn't take it on as a hobby. And I think for some of the reasons that we were just talking about now. What do you think of video games as a hobby? Let me just ask you that very open-ended question, and then we can dig into it a little bit more.
I was watching Dennis Prager about this actually, about how he thinks it's more of a pastime than a hobby.
Can you define pastime? Help me out there.
Just something just to pass the time. I mean, just exactly what it means. It's just
Okay.
Just whatever.
A little interpretation of pastime.
Where a hobby you put effort.
Mm-hmm.
I paint miniatures. I do woodworking. Sometimes I do not like my hobby at certain points of that hobby. Base coating or something on the miniatures, it's kind of boring. When I get to start putting the colors on it, it becomes more fun. You start seeing how the model is starting to come out. And with woodworking, it's the same way. There's an ugly stage to every one of these hobbies, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
Even in this, I there was an ugly stage of smoking it because I'm choking and gagging because I'm breathing in when I'm not supposed to. Now, video games. I think it depends on what are you doing with it. Are you just, I want to get good at this video game because I want to get good at this video game? Maybe make some side cash with it, like some people have done.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it's dead brain entertainment, just like TV. It can be.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, like our grandmother used to say, on our dad's side, it does help with the reflexes. It does a little more than TV does.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It could be a good tool, I think. But just like everything else, it's in moderation.
I think you make a great distinction about it being more of a pastime in many cases than a hobby, because I think about, I picked up guitar as a hobby 7 years ago, And man, there were so many times where I'm sitting there messing with my fingers and I just can't get it to move the way I want it to. My brain knows where it needs to go, but my muscles can't quite stretch the way I need them to. They still can't, right? But I mean, even now I'm looking at it and this hand, like I can stretch these fingers and I have so much more dexterity even right now, like thinking about, you know, the middle one moving differently than the index or whatever you want to call it. And that's been all through work for 7 years of that. And even if I don't play for a couple months now, I can pick it back up and almost pick up right where I left off because I have so much experience with it now. But there were so many times where it was just so frustrating, but I wanted to hit those notes. I wanted to hit that riff. I wanted to hit that sweet Metallica riff and make it sound really good. And now I've gotten to the point where even for this channel, the intro music, I sat down one day and I thought, okay, I'm not a music theory major. I didn't study a lot of music theory. I don't know all of these chord progressions or anything like that, but I know what I've seen in other songs that work well. And so the theme music for this channel right now, the intro music, was literally me just sitting down after playing for a bit, kicking on all of the recording stuff, and then playing through some notes and just kind of seeing what worked. And then I came up with it in maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, so this is, I did not know that. That's your your theme song.
The one
or theme that
yeah,
you put on that.
the intro, yeah. The one that's currently on it and the one prior to this, I did both of those.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
The very first one that this channel started with, that was some free music from Incompetech, which you'll hear in a lot of other stuff because it's royalty free as long as you credit it, and so you'll see the credits there on the channel. But the stuff since then, yeah, I recorded that myself, and so that's very rewarding. And I think you can get that with video games sometimes, where it's very rewarding. I beat this boss in under 10 seconds, and that can be great. I mean,
well, especially for the male psyche, I think it's really important to have a goal. You know,
the
where
reward.
Yeah, to work toward that goal, and it's something that we're missing, I think, in modern society, especially as you proclaim postmodern society, which it really, really is, and it's unfortunate. It's garbage. Just to let you guys know my feelings about postmodernism.
Well, I'm with you. It's garbage and it's shallow. It's shallow. There's no meaning left anymore. It's all about instant gratification. Remember, we were talking about instant gratification in the 90s. And if I compare what we were seeing in the 90s to today, it's nothing. Today is all about instant gratification of all types. No work going into it. I want it. Not only do I want it now, but I want it to be as best as it possibly can be now without having to gain the experience or the discipline needed to achieve it.
I mean, how much do you have to fight it for yourself? I mean, fight against that, where you're trying to fight against, I just want to hit a quick video for entertainment instead of sitting down with a book. I mean, I find myself all the time, and as you know, me and my family, we take internet fasts where we have no internet for a week. And when my kids were still around before they became adult, I saw great improvement in their attitudes. You know, I think the internet can be a great tool, but it's unfortunately become more of a garbage heap of dopamine hits.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more of a drug peddler than a information.
It's almost like non-sexual pornography.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Where you're looking for the next quick hit that'll make you feel good, that'll be interesting. I've seen people who will watch a video for 10 seconds and then be like, okay, I saw everything. What's the next one? I mean, you're scrolling through your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed or your Instagram feed or whatever. And each post just isn't enough. Did you know I've read or heard something, I'll have to find if this is actually true, but I've heard that for people who eat lots of sweets, their brains get more and more used to it, and so at some point they need more and more sweets to get that same hit. Whereas my wife and I, before we got married, we wanted to lose some weight, and so we cut out chocolate, all sugar, as much as possible. We still had natural sugars like you find in apples and fruits and other things like that, but we tried to cut out as much manufactured sugar as possible. And so after like 2 months of not having any sugar, when I or chocolate or anything like that, when I took a bite out of a candy bar, uh, and not like a Snickers bar, not something like that, like Godiva chocolate, something like that, where it's just one little piece. Just that one little piece was enough to make my brain explode. And so I think it's kind of what you're talking about. Not only do we experience that in a physical manifestation, but we also experience it from a psychological dopamine hit manifestation.
And well, that's how we're designed to enjoy. You know, uh, dopamine is a wonderful drug when used in moderation. You know, but now our society is addicted to it. You know, where, you know, we were talking earlier today about how maybe people aren't the reason why they're not satisfied is because no hard work. So hard work breeds that tolerance towards dopamine, because you get that one little dopamine hit after your hard work and it feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Not dopamine, and you feel miserable afterwards. It's like drinking too much alcohol or eating too much sugar, or, you know, or
smoking too much vanilla from Madagascar.
Oh yeah, Madagascar.
The Madagascar quarter of Denmark. What's a big city in Denmark?
I don't know.
We're uncultured swine. What's that?
Stockholm? No.
Stockholm is in what, Norway? It's a state.
Oh, it's Norway. Yeah.
I don't know. Don't quote me on Norway. Everybody's out there. They're going to be looking it up online and saying you guys are wrong about everything. Where's Amsterdam? That's the Netherlands.
Is
that Dutch?
I think so. Yeah.
I just know this was Dutch, right?
I just know when I was in the army, you weren't allowed to take leave in Amsterdam.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
God, that dog. You know, I mean, he's enjoying what he's doing right now. He won't shut up. But we live right by a trail, and people are walking by, and this is his job, and he's gaining some pleasure from all the hard work that he's doing, barking at the people and keeping them from entering our territory.
Lighter's almost done. There we go.
Well, no wonder this isn't working well for me. Your lighter was shot.
Let's give some good puffs.
Oh, it's cold now. Oh, but I keep burning myself.
You're alright, you get used to it. At least it's not a really windy day to where it's hard.
Yeah. What's interesting too is as you get more and more into things that your hobbies or things that you're working toward, the more they feel like a game. So you do a lot of woodwork. So let me talk about that one. At some point, you know, maybe at the beginning it feels like work. think back when you were in middle school and you started shop class, and this is when you started getting into it. And at first maybe it felt like work. You weren't exactly sure why you were doing it or what it meant. Maybe you did because you specifically had an intuitive sense of it. Don't get me wrong here. But maybe at first you weren't sure why you were doing it. But then you built a beautiful table or a beautiful frame or whatever you start with, right? I remember we took the same shop class. I built a frame, that kind of thing, and then you see what you've built. And then it becomes sort of a game because then you get better and better at it. Now how do I make this work? Oh, I messed this one up. Okay, now I know what not to do here, and now I know how to do this. I think about it like jiu-jitsu. Very difficult, very tough to learn, but in a sense you're fighting, but you're also learning how to play a new game. And you get better and better at it, and it becomes more of a game, even though at first it was nothing but work. Am I making any sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, look at when you say in your earlier videos about how gaming is important, and that is the reason why we had games as children. Even now, it provides that stimuli that we need. I mean, even simple games like tag, or even trying to, for the girls when they're doing the hula hoops or the jump ropes. I mean, remember when they did those, what is it called, the double dutch or whatever? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the physical nature of those games are important. Mm-hmm. You know,
and video games, I think, go straight from, they cut out the work and discipline aspect of it and go straight to the fun part of it where it starts feeling like a game. Whereas
Yeah.
some of this other stuff we're talking about, you need to work and work and work until it starts feeling like a game.
Yeah, I still don't feel like I'm an expert woodworker, and eventually.
Didn't you carve this yourself with your own 2 hands? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful?
I wish.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, never mind.
It's one of my it's the ones on my list to make. I want to try.
Yeah, that would be fun. That'd be good.
And there's people that make good money out of it too. You know, that's not even real wood. That's just a
What?
yeah. That's just a form.
Is this plastic?
Yeah, some type of polymer.
Okay, it looks like it. Jarvis.
Now these
Enough.
these two are handmade.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a look at that. Take a look at that. If you can see that. Yeah. Looks very nice. But you didn't make these.
No.
You should have just taken credit for it. Nobody would have ever known.
Yeah, no, that just feels like cheating. Cheating on a game.
Yeah.
You know, I have some idea how to make it, but it's the intricacies of how to make something that I need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I made my wife a desk out of pine, which I'm not used to working with pine. For instance, like you were saying, I made it like it was out of oak, and I was like, oh, it doesn't have the structural integrity of oak, to where now the legs are too weak. I was like, okay, this is just something I learned and continue on, and when I work with pine again, I need to adjust.
Right. Yeah, experimentation. Like I just had a moment of experimentation here. I didn't light it. If I hold it here, am I able to puff out of it? The answer is no. I just learned that. Are you supposed to be able to get this so hot that you don't need to keep lighting it?
In theory.
Okay, you haven't gotten there yet.
No, I'm still a very much.
You're a blue belt.
Yeah, I'm very much a novice. But it's the enjoyment of learning how. Like you're saying, the hobby. It's the enjoyment of learning how to keep this lit longer. And if there is a person that knows a little better than me, definitely, we would allow, put it on the...
Shoot me an email.
Or post it on the...
Yeah, put it in the comments. Teach us how to do this right. Especially him, because he does it more. This does taste good. Is this the same one we had last time?
Yeah, it is. It's the last bit of it, so I'm going to have to get some more.
Okay. How much is left?
Probably for another smoke or two.
Oh,
twist.
Okay, here's the... Apparently it makes you... I was going to say weaker, but it might make you dumber. Or just me. Maybe that's the whiskey. Okay, yeah, it's almost... Because there's some in here normally and underneath.
No, just in the bag.
There isn't any left.
No, there's a... You lift it up.
Oh. I don't know how to do any of this. How does this work? Okay, well, I'm just going to trust him. I didn't get in there.
Looks like I'll be ordering some tonight.
Well, and I think about things like whiskey isn't necessarily a hobby, right? You don't do this as a pastime. You would kill yourself. But like you're saying about this and your experience with that individual where you just whom you had never met and you spent 20 minutes with him, sometimes it's about the journey, and things like this can make the journey better. This can be a little bit more of a hobby, but it's also a journey. It's a communal thing that you share with other people, and so it enhances your life in some sense.
Well, people need that. I mean, the last couple of years have taught us how important it is to be with people, and we need stuff like this. Is just a vehicle to be with each other. This is just a vehicle to be with people.
And I think that's what video games can really be good for. So despite what I've said about video games in the past here, I don't think they're a good hobby to start with. Pastime, I think, is like I said, very good distinction. I think they're good for certain things, but I think if you want to become a better person, that's not what you want to go toward first.
Well, I remember your old landline games.
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
How fun.
Halo.
Oh, you just murder all of us.
Yeah, 16 people.
in a couple rooms where we're all working together and trying to be, and that's teamwork. I mean, especially for a person who can't be physical. You know, I mean, what if a guy's in a wheelchair and he wants to play those games? There's a time and a place. I think for any type of entertainment, okay, let me rephrase that. For any decent type of entertainment.
And you're not just talking entertainment, but so, for example, if we had a friend who was wheelchair bound, and we all wanted to go play paintball, that person probably couldn't join us in that, but we could set up a Halo game for them to enjoy with us and get a similar experience and similar sense of camaraderie from that.
Right.
Yeah. You ready for me to toss out a word that has been hijacked, but is actually appropriate for what we just said? Is the word inclusive. Yeah, sorry.
It is inclusive.
Well,
it's the true meaning of more, because we had that discussion earlier about meanings of words, and this is actually the topic we're
you want to get into it? Yeah.
So
yeah.
No. So you want to tell them what?
Yeah, I can provide some context. So, Eric originally wanted to join today to talk a little bit about one of the videos that I had posted. How long ago was it?
I think it was 6 months.
I think it was 6 months. Okay.
Yeah.
And the topic was, should you ever hate? And shortly after that one was posted, because he's my most loyal and dedicated fan, except for maybe Jeremy. I don't know.
I missed your last two, but I didn't have internet.
Okay, yeah.
So
Jeremy has topped you.
Jeremy wins. I could be second. It's okay.
I'll allow it. But shortly after that one came out, he said, "Hey, I have some thoughts on that, and I'd love to share them with you and with the channel." And so we've been thinking about having him on here for a while, and we just now got around to getting you on. But also, maybe like 3 months ago, we thought we had an opportunity, but you're like, I need to rewatch it and gather my thoughts, which is really good, because we watched it this morning, and as we were watching it, I realized, wow, I didn't really gather my thoughts for that video. And so as we were listening to it, my thought was that at least I admitted that it needed to be refined. I hadn't thought through it quite much yet. And so I am happy to have you help me refine it and think through it a little bit more, because it's not something that I've completely come to any certain conclusion on. And just to be clear, the conclusion was you should hate things that are out to destroy you and things that you value. That was the crux of the video.
And I agreed with that, because we were talking kind of previously, or this morning when we watched this. I agree with the premise of the video. I think it's just terms that we need to start discussing and dive deep into it, and because I think some of the words, like you said, have been hijacked. Where we don't have a really good meaning for words like love and hate, and selfishness.
Yeah.
What do those mean? What does love mean? Does love mean a feeling that it just chemically happens, or is it a choice? Is the opposite
Jarvis! Noise ordinance. Come here. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that actually carries. He's got a very deep bark, very powerful voice. Look at him. He looks so ashamed. Come here, bud. Come here. You're not in trouble. Just come here. Come here. Come here. Sorry, please continue.
Oh, no.
Come here.
I'm going to square this away a little bit. I had a little more ash in what I wanted.
Come on, you want to say hi? Okay, he doesn't want to say hi. He's too ashamed. Gotta take it easy, bud. Take it easy. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You're doing your job. I understand.
Pull off some of that ash on the top and just scoop it out.
Yes, sir.
And try it. See if you can get a good little burn. Now, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, love and self, the opposites. What was I talking about?
You were getting there. So, yeah, go for it.
So, a lot of people think love and hate are opposites, and I disagree. And a lot of you who watch this understand that I'm a Christian, and I base everything based off the Judeo-Christian belief system, which our whole society is based off of. When we talk about love, what's the opposite of love? Well, love is not unconditional, but it is something that you have to choose to do. Like is more of the feeling.
Jarvis! Sorry.
Noise ordinance.
Sorry.
You need that t-shirt.
He loves being in the video. Can I stop you just for a moment? Because I have a thought on that.
Yeah, go for it.
The difference of love, or the opposite of love. Because I wonder sometimes if the opposite of love is just indifference. Oh, how rude of me. Let me top you off there, bro.
Thank you, sir.
Please hold.
Holding.
Cheers. Thanks for being
Cheers.
on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
If love means that you're giving maybe your full attention to something or somebody in your life, because if we think about marriage and the love that goes with that, you're in the Judeo-Christian sense, the way we tend to view it is you are becoming one whole person. You were not quite complete, and now with this other person, you make one full person, and now they deserve your attention above all else.
Well, the Bible says you're two people, but you're one flesh.
Oh, okay. We could get into semantics, but that's kind of what I'm saying is that...
Well, that's why we're here is the semantics, right?
Oh, man. Checkmate.
No, just help. Just check.
But if they deserve your full attention and they should come first above all else, then maybe the opposite of love is indifference, in which you don't necessarily go out of your way to hate them, because you're saying love is an act. What is the opposite of an act is to not act, which is indifference. I don't know. Again, I'm thinking out loud here. What do you think of that?
And I think that could work too. I mean, it's not like this is strictly black and white. But I think when I think of love, the opposite of love is selfishness.
Okay.
Love is...
Did you hear how that muffled my voice? I said, okay, and it was like through a fog.
Where selfishness is, in a way, it's still love. It's love of myself. You know, my wants and desires override everybody else's wants and desires.
Narcissism, a lot of what we see today.
Yeah. Where when we get into a marriage, it's actually a duty. You know, the love that we're commanded as husbands to love our wives as Christ loved the church, that supersedes our wants and desires. When the woman also has her role, it says to submit to their husbands, or even to, if we don't want to use the S word, to respect their husbands. You know, it's what we meant. Look at a marriage where a woman doesn't respect their husband. Mm-hmm. It's garbage.
It falls apart. Yeah. It ends in divorce. Yeah. Yeah. Can we, because you said the S word. And
submit.
And you called it the S word for a reason. Why do you think that you had to put on that qualification for it?
Well, it's so people would listen instead of just being shut down.
Okay, so, and I think that was the correct approach. What do you mean when you say submit?
Well, okay, so in the Judeo-Christian belief system, God is orderly, right? So we have to start there. Everything that we have to do in a Judeo-Christian belief system is start with the author of our system, which is God.
Okay.
So when God makes things, he makes things orderly. The husband is the leader of the house, like Christ is the leader of the church.
So when you say submit, you're saying submit to a hierarchy, and you would you say it's fair to say that the husbands have to submit to the same hierarchy?
Yeah, we have to. And it breaks the family when we don't fulfill our roles. Mm-hmm. We don't protect women. I mean, just look at the whole...
Go ahead.
Oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
The whole transgender issue.
Yeah.
We don't protect our women because men don't stand up and protect them. We are ordered by God Almighty to protect our women. And if we don't do that because we're scared, or, you know, like I had to stop for a second because I didn't want to hurt your channel.
No, I appreciate that.
You know, stop being a pansy. I mean, God even said to Job, be a man. I'm going to ask you some questions. Be a man. There's a responsibility of being a man, and the biggest responsibility is to protect your wife and your children. It's also to teach your wife and your children. It's also to be a priest to your wife and children and teach them about God. It's your job.
And it's not about... So when people hear the word submit, and I think even my own wife thought this for a while, they immediately think of a sense of control. And that's not what it's about. It's not about control. It's not about domination. It's not about exerting your will forcefully over another human being. It's about making the best decision and carrying the burden of having to do that for the people under your care.
It's the servant leadership.
Yes. Yes.
You're a leader at your work,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to serve them to make sure they get all the tools they need to accomplish the job. You and my dad did our dad. Sorry, not my dad. You and our dad.
We're half brothers.
No.
Man, here comes the sun. It's gonna ruin. Okay, lean into it so that our faces are whitewashed now. No.
Come back here with the shadow.
God, it's so bright now. Oh. And it's pinging off the table. The whole shot's ruined. Sorry, please continue.
Oh, sorry. Well, it's the one with our dad and you, where we're always talking about leadership.
I loved that conversation with him because it. What was that?
I don't know.
Because it revealed a side of him that I hadn't seen, and it also revealed that he was a very good leader. He was forgiving when he needed to be, and understanding, and he had a higher emotional intelligence than maybe even I was aware of.
And I got to see that part of him because me and him share an experience in military, you know, and that's where you get a lot of your traits for leadership, and in which I respect. You know, you have that EQ, because you told me one time, and I'm trying to remember how you said it, but people in IT don't deal with people very well because they're very, very logical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know IT enough to get yourself in trouble, but not enough to where
and
they
I have. When you bring production down because you forget to commit a transaction in SQL, it's trouble.
I know nothing of what you just said. Parlez-vous français?
but yeah, I had enough experiences as a developer and learning how to make things work and how to break things. And now, as I'm working with developers, I understand them. This is exactly where one of my previous conversations came from, as far as taking the bad with the good. Right? So I was actually thinking very much of developers in that sense, because they can be very difficult, because they don't work with the human aspect as well. But it's forgivable. I shouldn't even say forgivable, because it's not something that needs to be forgiven. But it's part of the whole package. They do great work in what they need to do great work on, and the rest we can just work through. And same thing with Dad and what he was talking about for some of the individuals he worked with when he was a sergeant.
Yeah, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and if we all work together through our strengths and weaknesses, we could build a great society, which we have done. You know, we did do. We took the Judeo-Christian belief system, and we're human, so we have an imperfect system, but we understood that there is a higher power than us, and we submitted to that, and we made the greatest nation in the world, bar none.
And suppose for a moment, let's talk to the atheists for just a moment. Suppose there is no God, and none of this is. Let's take a completely secular viewpoint for a moment. Even if you're not submitting to a higher authority that's supernatural, you're submitting to a higher authority that is culture and society and civilization that has been built before you and built around you and built for you. And so there is an aspect of submission. I think we as humans just ultimately need to submit. Even those of us who have gotten into leadership positions, we're still submitting to something bigger. Whether it's from our perspective, whether it's a higher power like that. But we also have, this social contract that sometimes we talk about. Like, how do you treat your fellow human? How do you interact in society, and how do you make society better? And that's what you're submitting to overall as well. So just for some of you who may not have that same viewpoint that Eric and I are talking about, because I share his views on a lot of the things that he's talking about, but this channel is also for those of you who may not think the exact same way. There's still a way to make things better.
And the atheists could also look at, they like to say they're logical, so they could also just look at the evidence of the society. We could go, I think even Sam Harris, because I listen to him sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. Where he knows that the Islamic way, unfortunately, has been not as conducive as a Judeo-Christian belief system. They imitate that system in a lot of ways, but they don't give their women.
How's that whiskey treating
you?
Woo!
They don't give their women.
What else you want to talk about?
Yeah, the women freedom.
Right.
Where the Judeo-Christian belief system has to give them freedom, because they're, even if you don't believe that, the basis is everybody has intrinsic value.
Yeah. Yep.
Everybody.
Agreed.
Just because we have different roles doesn't mean we're different value. The man and the woman are equal value.
Yeah. And I think this is what concepts or movements like feminism ultimately try to go towards, but they don't have that element of submission with it. And so it becomes in some ways empty and shallow, and they're imitations, like you're saying. And they see what the outcome is that they want, and they see things that might give them that, but they imitate it from a very shallow perspective instead of understanding the root cause, the why behind it. Why does it work? Why did it get to where we wanted it to be? I think of, we were talking about the movie Moana this morning. I don't know if you're going to agree with what I'm about to say here, so feel free to dissect it a little bit. But my wife and I watched Moana earlier this year. I had never seen it. I had heard it because she always plays it at night when we're about to fall asleep. That and a bunch of other movies like Nightmare Before Christmas, Zoolander. I can quote, but I have no idea what actually happens on the screen because I've heard them a million times now. And Moana's one of them, and I've actually really come to enjoy the music in it. Some of the songs have been very well written, and we finally watched it at some point. And afterward, I told her, you know what? If feminists approached their cause the way this movie was written, have you seen the movie?
Oh, Abigail was a
okay
fantastic fan.
If feminists approached their message the way they approached this movie, they would be much more successful. Because here's a main character who was not defined by her gender. She was defined by her role in society and how she played it and how she could make it better. And her whole thought process was, how do I go out and put myself out there where I need to be the best for the people I represent? And I told her that, and she thought that was an interesting viewpoint at the very least. But go ahead.
C.S. Lewis said that the woman is the patriot of her household, and she wants to represent her household. And that's why she couldn't be leader. Because who do you want to face in a time of discourse? The master of the household or the woman of the household? You know, the woman is going to be it doesn't matter if her dog chewed up something of someone else's. She's going to defend her dog. Period, because of that's her family. You don't mess with her family. But the master of the household, you know, God gave us this logic that my dog did this, and reasonably I need to pay for this. You know, I mean, you all heard about the mama bear. You don't mess with mama bear. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's a really good point, is that she represents the household, but the man, the husband, has to go out and face the world and do what's best for the household based on what's happening out in the world. Yeah. And she can provide great advice. And, I know, we're talking about it in very black and white terms. Just for the record, I think you and I will agree that sometimes that the woman can play that role and sometimes the man can play the other role. We're not saying that it's all completely wrong, but I think in general that is the way that is.
That's the rule, not the exception. Yeah. There are exceptions, and like you said last time, we don't need to talk about exceptions. We need to talk about the generalities because that's what affects the world. Mm-hmm. Exceptions are just that.
Yes.
They're exceptions.
Yes.
And I think I get irritated about it just as much as you do when we have to always mention the exceptions. No. Yeah. We're talking about generalities. If you can't handle that, then you need to go research yourself.
Well, and that's the way that you have to have a discourse when you're talking about lots of different people, is because you have to talk about the majority and how it affects the majority. But I mean, that's the great thing about this country that we live in and the way it was founded, is because it came up with ways on how to protect the minority from the majority, so that the majority wouldn't vote them out of all of their rights. And that's why it's such a shame to see a lot of it trying to be dismantled, because the people who it seems the people who want to have it dismantled stand to lose the most. But
well, we'll find out. History rhymes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. I love that saying.
Yeah, I just heard that actually a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. Yeah, I loved that.
The other one I really like is those who understand history are not doomed to repeat it, but are doomed to watch others repeat it, or something. I'm misquoting it horribly, but it's something like that. And more I tell my wife, I tell Tori, like, yeah, the more and more we understand it, the more painful it's going to be, because as we watch all these other people, we have a severe lack of leadership and a severe lack of moral standing and values and principles right now. I think in the whole world we've lost our way, and the more people like you and I and my wife and your wife see how this is going, the more painful it's going to be for us. But also, I'm also learning to detach from it, not be so emotionally invested in it. We're from the Christian aspect of it, we are in the world, but we're not of the world. And in some sense, as I'm getting older, that becomes easier. It becomes easier to become kind of an observer of what's going on.
This is interesting. This is interesting history that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sojourners, as the old word says. The travelers, just passing by. I'm Christian first, then American, and that's what made America so beautiful. So we were Christians first.
I think I'm carbon first.
You're carbon first.
That'll be my public platform when I inevitably run for office. I don't know about inevitably, but if I ever run for office,
I'm eventually going to try. That's my
carbon first. Well, I think it's important. I think it's important for people who don't generally have an interest in it to think about it and think about how you can best represent your community and get involved and give back somehow. And that can be one way. Like
sometimes
if you join city council or something like
sometimes
that.
You just need a person that's just not highly educated all the time and just salt of the earth kind of guys.
Yeah, you want to talk about diversity. I mean, if you just put everybody on city council, if only, how do I structure this damn sentence?
It's beating you.
If on city council you only have people who have PhDs from high universities, is that really diverse? Is that really a diverse background? Why don't you have a welder on there as well? Or more blue collar or anything like that. Why don't you get an actual diverse viewpoint there?
I'm going to go into a book now, Starship Troopers. Not the movie, the book.
Yeah. Completely different.
Different.
So if you're thinking of the movie right now, just forget everything that you learned on that and just listen to what he's about to say with an open mind. There's like, one scene from the novel that made it into the movie?
I think so, yeah.
If that.
The book is great. And it was about voting rights. And how his doctor was saying when he was checking in Johnny, basically their type of MEPS, I don't remember, it's been a while since I read the book, but saying like how they should be the ones to vote and not these people that served and worked hard to vote.
So like an elite class.
Yeah, that they would rule the world, but or they would do good for the world, and it's like, no, you need both.
Yeah.
The most influential thing that I ever heard was one of the most influential, I shouldn't say the most, is when Jordan Peterson said we both need conservatives and liberals.
And the reason he gave for it. Yeah. I thought it was an interesting discussion.
We need each other to pull each other back or pull each other forward.
Jarvis!
Jarvis! Ordinance.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
He's all proud.
Yeah. Now he looks happy with what he's done. Come here, bud. Settle down. In his defense, there was a biker over there. Not a motorcyclist, but just a regular cyclist. And if I had my way, he would be able to attack them. Sorry. Sorry. Did you have anything else about Starship Troopers? I wanted to pull it back a little bit.
Oh, go for it, yeah.
Back to Should You Ever Hate?
No, yeah, because we got way off on that tangent.
Well, I don't know. Did we? Or did we discuss? Did we I don't know. Did we learn something? It's like South Park. I learned something today. Well, go see. There's somebody over there, Jarvis. Go look. They're like right there. Okay, settle. Did we answer the question of should you ever hate, or did we dig into that the way you wanted, or were there?
No, I think we absolutely should hate. Absolutely. I think
you're so hateful.
I hate the sin that I do. I hate when people hurt other
smoking?
people. You show me that in the Bible.
It's the 11th commandment. Thou shalt not smoke.
or drink.
Oh.
Oh.
Uh-oh. So, were there any other... Okay, you were talking about there might be some definitions that we needed to really redefine or dig into or find those lines. I guess, was there anything else that you wanted to dive into on that?
Well, I just think the biggest one on that one was that love, like selfishness and hate,
Yeah.
is where do we define those? And it's important to do so for our own sanity. I think as a nation,
As people.
as a
As a person.
as a human.
Well, you need to understand your why. Why do you love the things that you do? And why do you care about the things that you do? And if for example, here's a good example. If somebody were to try to kill your wife, try to murder your wife or murder my wife, it is perfectly fine to hate that person and do what it takes to end that threat. That is perfectly fine.
And to hate their actions, definitely.
Yeah. And I think I brought that up in the last video. Is there a difference between hating the behavior and hating the person? And should you focus on one over the other? And I'm not sure about that.
Well, in the Judeo-Christian belief system,
hate the sinner, hate the sinner. Hate the sin, not the sinner.
Yeah, because we're ordered to love.
Right.
But we do have to take actions to prevent horrendous acts to another person when it's within our power.
Yeah, that was the lungs. You're ordered to love your wife, and so if somebody tries to harm her,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, are you saying you should only?
Because
even
that person,
you should still love the person who's trying to murder your wife? And I'm not saying, sorry, that came out accusatory, and that's not my intent. But is that the appropriate way to think about it?
Well, Jesus loved the person that was nailing him to the cross.
Okay, all right, fair. And there is the.
And if we're to be Christian,
hold on. There is the Roman legionnaire. That's the word I was looking for. The Roman legionnaire who did say, after he died, he did say, "Oh, surely this was the Son of Christ," which means he was saved. So in that moment, it showed that there was an immediate positive value for his death. So okay, so I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, because Christian means little Christs, right? It was a derogatory term in Rome.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, and we didn't really pick up that mantle until a little bit later, and I can't remember when.
Well, that's what we have been doing for all of history. I mean, even Yankee Doodle was a British song to make fun of us in the Revolutionary War, and we're like, yeah, we love it. Yeah, stick a feather in our cap. Woo! Let's play it as we go into war. And the British are like, no, you're supposed to hate that. And we're like, oh, you made that? I made that.
Yeah, we took it.
Yeah.
We appropriated this, and it's ours
yeah.
now.
Culturally appropriated it. We started that with the British. God bless the Queen.
Oh man, I'm a disaster for your channel.
Maybe it's because you're a smoker and a drinker.
Not really.
You're destroying my lungs. No. You're not a disaster for my channel. This is probably going to get 5,000 views because we taught people how to drink whiskey.
And I do appreciate that.
I'm all out.
I'm not a very big drinker, and I remember when you showed me.
Turn that forward because as you can see there, it says Glenmorangie on the front. So Glenmorangie is one of the best whiskeys. You know it's cultured when they spell whiskey without an E.
Okay. I thought it was just bad misspelling.
Sky. No.
Not that I could spell or anything. Thanks, Dad.
No, I mean, this is what I look for when I have somebody else on the channel, is that we dig into a lot of different things because somebody else brings perspective that I can't. And I love being able to bounce my ideas off of another person. Because this is the importance of free speech is... God, the sun is blinding me.
I'm like a perfect
free
bar.
speech. Let me tell you, is because I don't refine my ideas nearly as well as I do unless I'm bouncing them off somebody else with a different perspective. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I think so. Most of my videos are only 15, 20 minutes because just me. It's just me,
Yeah.
or even 10 minutes or 5 minutes. But when I have other people, I usually go for about an hour, and it's because we're really digging into something, and you can't do that as well when you're just talking to yourself because I run out of ideas. But if I bounce them against you, you have a completely different perspective. Your experiences are different than mine, and you can help hone them, refine them, shape them in a different way that I wouldn't have been able to by myself.
Well, that's why we're social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Because we filter out all the bad ideas. Let all the bad ideas just be all on the table.
Yeah, get them out there.
Because maybe I'm having a bad idea, and I bring it to you or to anybody else. It's like, have you ever thought of this? I'm like, nope, didn't even think of it.
Didn't think about that.
And it's like, oh,
Good thing
well, that
I
was an
asked you.
idiot idea. Thank you.
When I think about, so here's an example. Here's a very real world example. And I'm going to get heavy for a moment, so be prepared. Have a shot. I don't have much left. Okay, maybe not that heavy, but so for example, I've had to do a lot of public speaking in my life, and part of it's because I'm weird in the sense that I actually enjoy it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have this channel, right? I enjoy it in some sense because I do feel like I'm representing something. I'm there for the people that I'm talking to. Or, in the case of Mom's eulogy, I'm there representing her and her entire life. It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
When I wrote her eulogy, I sent it to like 3 people and asked them, just read it. You know, I'm emotional right now. Is this going to come off in any way that should not be done? That I should not come off as? And got great feedback, and there were some things, thankfully it was pretty good. Most people told me this is good. Maybe don't use this word, use this word. Great. Same thing with, I've been a best man twice in my life. Same thing. Sent out, you know, because last thing you want to do as a best man at a wedding is insult the bride or the bride's family or anything like that, or say anything disparaging about marriage. And so I sent it, you know, for our younger brother, Zach, who I'd love to have on here one day. Zach, if you're watching this, what are you doing?
You might have to go up there.
Get on here. Well, we can do it over the internet. We have the power of the internet. So, like, when I gave his... So this is interesting, is that I had to deliver my best man speech for him the same year that I delivered Mom's eulogy, which is very interesting because one's a very joyous occasion and the other's the exact opposite.
That was a rough year.
Let me rephrase that. I'll say that her memorial was actually a joyous occasion because we were legitimately celebrating her life. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, you saw the turnout.
Yeah.
Our mom, it was a packed room where people were standing.
Yep.
And that just showed what type of woman she was, and what she submitted to her husband, even in the days when she didn't agree with Dad.
Which there's a lot of those.
Yeah, you know,
but
and she was a very traditional woman, and she taught us very well, and we would defend her with our lives. All 3 of us.
Yep.
All 3 of us brothers.
I would agree with that statement. Yep.
100%. You didn't mess with Mama.
Yep.
You didn't mess with Mama, dog.
Nope. Mama dog. But my point, the original point.
Sorry, emotional.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Like I said, I was going to take it heavy. Take a shot. But the original point is that I sent those out to get people's feedback. I was a best man for a good friend this year as well, and I did the same thing. Sent it out to people, even people who I hadn't met before, who were there for the wedding, and their best friend growing up. I was like, hey, I don't know you as well, but I need you to read this. Is there anything that I should change? And got some good feedback. Now, going back to high school, I was valedictorian in our school, and I wrote a speech, and I didn't have anybody read it. I didn't have anybody check it. I thought I was so smart. I thought I was so wise, so brilliant. And I get up there and I deliver the speech, and I'm so glad nobody recorded that because it was cringe. It was so bad. And it's probably not as bad as I'm thinking that it was, but it was bad.
What was your heart, right? It was what was in your heart.
It was. But is that always ready for public consumption?
No. It that's why you think it's so bad. is because you knew what was in your heart. You knew what was in
Yeah.
what was your attitude for this, right?
Yeah.
I'm this. I mean, I think anybody that understands who they are wants to go back and kick themselves in the butt, right? It doesn't matter if you're a saint back then or not. You made mistakes because you're young. I mean, you knew what was in your heart. You know?
Yeah, and that particular speech wasn't mean. There may have been a couple comments.
Actually, I wasn't there. I was deployed, wasn't I?
Probably. There were probably a couple comments that rubbed people the wrong way. I don't really remember the specifics. I'm just speculating now at this point because I don't remember it. But I know myself back then, and there were probably some things that rubbed people the wrong way. And if I had somebody else read it, they would have been like, "Dude, dude, are you trying to get everybody to hate you?" And the rest of it was like overly sappy, sentimental, and dramatic, and it needed to have multiple eyes on it to tell me, hey, by the way, Josh, you're going to embarrass yourself, and as your friend, I need to tell you to change your entire speech.
No, those are the best friends ever when they tell you you're being stupid.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. Sorry, taking that all the way back to free speech and all that kind of stuff. Is that's why you need to have them out in the open, so that you can refine those ideas, so that you can get a sense of what are the other perspectives that I'm going to go up against that might see it a different way. So,
I think that's why we need to also.
It's so bright. Look, you're like in the dark.
I know, I'm perfect.
And I'm like an angel over here. You're in the dark.
I think that's why we also need to define terms too, so we understand each other better. Well, I mean, even speech. I mean, you're a person that loves the limelight. Would you say?
I don't know if I love it, but in the past, I would say that yes. In my younger years, I would have loved the limelight. Now, I would say that I am willing to accept the burden of responsibility that comes with the limelight, and I do gain satisfaction from doing a good job in the limelight.
Well, I believe that's your gift of leadership too. That's your God-given leader.
It had to be refined. And it's had to be refined over years.
And it's
because when you do, like, for example, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but for an example, I was thinking about this. Being a best man at a wedding is you get to have that moment where you're up there, but it can't ever be about you. You almost have to be invisible. And I've learned to enjoy that aspect of it, because if I had been a best man when I was like 18, I'd have made it all about myself, and that's not the right way to go about it. But now I know better, and I know well enough that when you're the best man and you've been asked to carry this responsibility, you go in there and you make it about the couple. You're there, and you're in front of everybody. You're the one talking, but you're not the center of attention. You're a conduit for what is the center of attention, and I've learned to enjoy that part of it. There's still a part of me. That's true. There's the darker nature of me still that is like, no, I want this to be all about myself, but there is more satisfaction in being that conduit of now I've helped make this better for everybody, especially the people who it needs to be focused on. That was the lungs. So good.
Just when you breathe it, just like a straw.
Oh, I know.
It's just a reaction.
Logically, I know. But sometimes my lungs are like, activate.
Like when I bring it in, I use my tongue to use the suction power of the tongue to bring it in.
Wow, that's sensual. The suction power of your tongue.
I don't know how else to explain it.
I know what you mean. It was... Okay, well, did we? I
really enjoyed this.
Yeah, did we get into everything that you wanted? We got into a lot more.
Yeah, we did.
I think my takeaways are: have Tori play Mario Kart 64.
Absolutely. Do the battle one too with her.
Oh man,
just for
mean.
fun. You gotta do one, and then do Rainbow Road.
I'll have to see if I can get 2 controllers hooked up and all that. I can
definitely make her do Rainbow Road.
Man, You're a sadist, I think.
Make her do the
is
first
what
one.
that is.
You know, the one that's just the circular one?
Like Luigi Raceway.
Yeah, and then do Rainbow Road.
Go straight.
I get a lot of enjoyment out of her reactions. I just can't have the little
me
ones
too.
watch her because she gets very...
her language is very... I want to use the word adult. That's the cultural way of describing it.
It becomes very juvenile?
It's juvenile using words that should only be exposed to adults. Let's put it that way. Which is what makes it really funny. And that's one thing I've always wanted to, or I keep wanting to stress on this channel, is I have one video about don't swear, but I think a well-placed curse word can be hilarious. So you got to use it judiciously, right? And in those videos, she uses it judiciously.
If you guys ain't subscribed to his channel, please.
Black Wolf Gaming is what it's called.
Please.
Yeah, go check it out. And I've come to the one more question for you. Since you're here, I want to bounce this idea off of you. For that channel, I don't think I'm personally interesting enough for me to carry it by myself. I think it's better when I have other people on it. Would you agree with that statement? Or parts of that statement? How much do I suck is what I'm asking.
When I was watching... Okay, when I started back with Metroid, because I'm not a very, very big video game watcher inherently. My stick is tabletop gaming, miniature war gaming. That's my stick, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're actually the only video game channel I watch because, one, you're my brother, and,
Sure.
and I do love you. And,
Aww.
But when I was watching the Axiom Verge one, and I bought the game, I enjoyed the game, I got nearly 100% on the game, and you hate. I don't know if you hated the game.
I didn't hate it, but I don't know if I'll ever play it again.
Right.
Yeah, it was okay.
There
it
was
fun, but...
I'm trying to remember. There was a certain way you did the gaming that was yours. The certain way you presented yourself, and it was fun.
Where I was kind of laughing at the absurdity of the situations I was finding myself in. Something like that, maybe.
Maybe
That's my sense of humor. Is if something is absurd, I laugh at it, and sometimes in inappropriate situations. Other people will look at me like, "Josh, why are you laughing at this?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I don't think it's actually funny, but it's absurd, which I find funny."
Oh, and I and I think for every channel, I mean, there's a billion. Goodbye.
Okay, everybody, that camera died, so we're gonna finish this on here. Where am I looking?
So what I was
Right
saying
there.
was, there's a billion game channels out there, and you got to make it your own somehow, and it's just your God-given personality.
And you just gotta embrace it.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Embrace it. I mean, I want to do a channel one day, God willing, of a tabletop gaming, and there's a billion of them out there too. And how am I going to make it different from everybody else? You know what? It's just who I am, and I'm
So cool.
no,
The coolest.
no. I was never cool. It's amazing that I have a wife and 5 kids.
I'll agree with that. Well, everybody, thank you so much for following and listening. If you didn't get the sense or understand, that camera died, and I'm still figuring all of this out. This is my phone right now, which I typically use, but it can't connect to my computer right now, so I had to use alternative means of recording. Let's hope it all stayed and didn't get corrupted. I think it'll be fine. But
We'll find out.
Thank you so much for jumping on, and we'll call it there. I think we talked long enough.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yep. Thanks.
Subscribe.
Oh yeah.
And also do that thing on the bottom.
Or more importantly, I agree with both of those. If that
I will
if
say
you
it
wanna do
because
that.
he won't.
Yeah. But more importantly, if this was helpful, send it to your friends, your family, anybody you think the message would be helpful for.
We're here to help people, not to bash people.
Yeah, and not to make it about ourselves or anything. We're, again, like we mentioned a moment ago, we're a conduit for a message that is hopefully helpful. So.
And to provide thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Good job,
And if you
Josh,
disagree
on
or think
your
of other
channel.
things, then comment, send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.